Hey, it is Larson and welcome to the newest Synthesize Sunday episode. In the previous episode I promised you that I'm going to cover a few things what I love in Ableton Live 10, and most of them are pretty hidden, so I'm sure you know a lot of things by now about Ableton Live and the new features and new devices and stuff, but these things are a little hidden, so let me show you my favorite stuff in Ableton Live 10, what I would say I use a lot in my daily usage. The first one is the groups, and I'm pretty sure that you already know that you can group and create groups within groups. So if I click Ctrl G, you can see that Live put all this stuff into a group, and I can group it again. Like, pretty cool stuff. But the interesting thing here, well, for me, is not this. The interesting thing for me is in the project files. So if you open a project file, like I'm having this emergency house drums 2, and I open it, you can see that we have, okay, this is a folder only. So this is the project file. As you can see, it is a .als file. And if you open it up, you can see the tracks. And before it was not available to open the groups. And well, to be honest, Ableton Live 9 didn't show any groups, so it just, had a list about the tracks and that was all. But right now you can see the groups in the project files, which is very, very awesome and very useful in most of the cases, so I pretty love this new feature. The second thing, what I pretty love in Ableton Live 10 is the MIDI chase function. Now, I know that you already know about this, but I very love this, and this made my life a lot easier since Ableton 10 came out, because let me show you that. I make a MIDI clip, like a pretty long one, and this is a noise sweep rack I made previously. So I make this sweep up kind of thing. And the problem here is if I want to tweak only this section of the MIDI file, in previous version, in Ableton Live 9, I had to play this stuff from the beginning. Or at least I had to freeze it, and then I would be able to, play around with this section. But the problem was that this way, so I was not able to change the modulation, which is pretty a pain again. But from now, I can do this, like clicking in the middle of the MIDI file. Anywhere basically, and Ableton Live 10 will play the MIDI file from that point. Now the cool thing in this MIDI chase feature is, just let me show you, let me load up a wavetable from Spectral, like the Monster 2 is my favorite wavetable from the Monsters, and just what I want to do is just make an evolving sound basically, and let me use this MIDI. Let's go down to C1. So as you can hear, the sound is evolving. Now the cool thing is if you leave the LFO in off mode, so it won't take any trigger data from the MIDI file, it can sync the position of the LFO to your DAW. So if you click on the off, let me show you what it does. So the MIDI chase function will behave pretty properly. This is so awesome, but if you click on the trigger, Serum will always have the same MIDI information, and then it will play the sound from the beginning, because it won't be able to decide where we are in the MIDI file. But if you click on the off in Serum, somehow Ableton Live will tell Serum that, okay, we are in the middle of the file, or at the middle of the MIDI note, or at the end of the MIDI note, and this is a very awesome feature, guys. So you don't need to freeze your tracks, because Ableton does the magic. My other favorite feature is in the options, file, export audio, and we are having the MP3 export at last, and it exports only CBR 320 MP3, but I think this is cool. Awesome feature at last. My fourth favorite feature in Letsyn is the multimedia editing. I pretty love this because, you know, it is very easy to see several stuff and edit several stuff at the same time. So as you can see, I'm just editing 2 MIDI notes at the same time, and I can switch between them if I go here and click on these little lines representing the MIDI files basically. And I can make like 1,000 of copies. And if I select everything, you can see that I have 4 little lines here representing the MIDI files I can edit at the same time, or at the same place basically, because I can't edit them at the same time, I can edit them at the same place, which is also a very handy feature if you are having like a top line for a melody and the chords, and the third MIDI contains the bass. This is very easy to, you know, see everything at the same place. Very handy and very useful in most of the cases if you are a composer, or if you like to work on you know, very complex melodies, very complex harmonies and stuff. Another very handy feature here is okay, let me delete these, I don't need them, is the convert stuff. So if I take a drum loop, what I have something like this, what I was able to do before is I drop it into the DAW, right click, and there is a convert drums. Now I can do it from the browser, convert drums, and boom, it is there. How cool is this? So I made it directly from the browser, and of course I can do the same with the basses, right click, convert, melody, boom, it is there again. How awesome is this? Now, these features are not very precise, so I would recommend to use, for example, Melodyne for this, but for drums, as I experienced, it works pretty well. So I was able to convert this drum to this. I think it made a pretty nice job on converting the drums. It can be a lifesaver if you want to work on like 1,000 drums, for example. I think it is an easy way to, you know, to grab all the informations about the kicks and the snares and the hi-hats and stuff. I think it's very handy. So basically these were my favorite features in Ableton Live 10, but there is another thing what I very love, and well, several things. And the first one I want to talk about in the devices is a drums bus. I've never seen any better solution to beef up drums, especially kick drums, than the drums bus. So what I want to show you is let me take a weak kick drum, like I have tons of them in the drum sounds. Okay, sorry, kicks. This is a pretty weak kick, so let's drop it here. And for better demonstration, let me just add some volume to it. And for better demonstration, I want to add another audio channel, and let me click on resampling, solo it, loop this stuff, and I just, you know, I'm able to record it directly. So you can see down here what I'm doing with the kick drum if I drop the drums bus, or the drum bus once it. So it's very awesome. It has some drive features on soft, medium, hard, a compressor, so we can give accurate transients. So for example, for transients I love to use the glue compressor and the transient master from Native Instruments, but this here makes some pretty decent job, and I don't know I've ever heard any better transients created with the drums bus. It's so awesome. Okay, so let me show you. Very cool. And we have this boom feature here, which is a sort of sub generator for a kick drum, and I don't know how it does that, but it aligns the phases of the sub it generates with the kick drum phases. So let me show you. If I push up the boom, as you can see, it just perfectly aligns the phases. You don't see where the kick ends and where the stop starts. So it's just awesome, and you can change the key of the sub, like how awesome is this? And also you can set the length of the sub. Oh, let me delete these automations, I don't need them. So as you can see, I can set the length of the tail, which is very handy because you don't want to generate a bass sound with the kick drum. You just want to have some beef, some extra low end on the kick drum, and this device is just crazy good for that. So the second thing what I love in Ableton Live 10 is the utility tool, because the guys at Ableton upgraded it so well. So for example, we are having this bass mono, so if you click on this, Ableton will split up the frequency and makes mono everything below this hertz point, which is a lifesaver again, I would say. You will have the width knob left and right, pretty cool, and you can set everything to mono. Very handy. I know it's a pretty minor changes, but for me it is a lifesaver because, you know, I don't need to make where is this audio effect rack using multiband dynamics, and on the bottom I don't need to add this utility tool and pull back everything to mono. Right now the only thing I need to do is click on bass mono and I'm done. Pretty handy thing. I can't recommend it to you. Now the other thing in Ableton Live 10 is the Echo device. Echo, I'm not very impressed about, because, well, I just wasn't able to create very interesting sounds with it. There are several other free delay plugins which makes a lot more colorful sounds, a lot more interesting sounds. For example, I have this Native Instruments free stuff, the Replica. It's just, I would say, 100 times better, and I think it was free for 2015 Christmas. So, well, for me it was free, okay, but I think it is 100 times better. And not talking about the wavetable instrument here in Live 10, I just feel it's just useless stuff. If you make something similar to, for example, Serum, because I believe that was the goal, to make something similar to Serum, I would say make it better or add something extra what, you know, Serum does not have. But Wavetable is just, it doesn't offer any better or any different solution what I can do in Serum. For example, I cannot drop into my own wavetables. The filters are boring. I don't know. I was not impressed at all with this. I think I will never use this guy. I will stick to Serum instead, because that is still the best synth out there, I would say. So yeah, these were my favorite features and these were my impressions about Ableton Live 10. Although I will upgrade to Ableton 10 because, you know, this is my daily work to use it. But I don't know, these new devices didn't impress me at all, but the new additions, the new thing, you know, to the workflow they added is very handy. One thing, let me just mention one more thing. This dude here, it is so annoying. We don't need this. If I click on the modulations knob, I can tweak these envelopes. But, you know, previously it was a lot easier. If I clicked on a modulation, I was able to modulate. Click on the envelopes, I was able to click on envelopes. Now, if I hit Ctrl-Shift-F or Ctrl-Alt-F, I cannot bring in the fades. So every time I want to add the fade, I need to go out from the envelopes mode, fade it. If I want to make some changes in the envelopes, I just need to go up here and then click. So it just adds several extra clicks, which is not a big thing, I know, but if you do it like 100 times a day, it can be really annoying and really distracting. Doesn't add to the workflow. Well, it subtracts from your workflow. So I don't need this. I would just get rid of it if I could, but right now I cannot. But anyway, this is the new way. This is how Ableton decided to make things, but I don't like it. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this little overview on Ableton Live 10, and see you next time, guys. Bye bye.